Hello there, my lovelies. Thank you for joining Season 3, Episode 2 of Listening to the Voices in Our Heads, where we visit with creative minds and their creative processes. My name is Jenna O'Malley, your soul writer, and our guest today is none other than one of the famed authortube Brit Pack, Richard Holliday. Our chat highlights his mundane turned macabre nightmare Tenant, a few interludes into chaotic tangents, and inspirational nuggets of wisdom hidden along the way. Before we begin, please remember to like, sub, click the bell, leave a comment, and as always, take care of yourself a little better each day. You're worth it. Now, let's rock it. Hello there, my lovelies. Welcome back to another episode of Listening to the Voices in Our Heads with me, Jenna O'Malley, your soul writer, sitting down yet again with another pal of mine here on AuthorTube, one of the Brit Pack. Hello, Richard. Welcome.
It's so nice to be here, Jenna. How are you?
Better now that I get to sit down with one of you fine
Thank
people,
you.
for sure. Tell us about yourself and what you do, my friend.
Oh, dear, that's the worst question to ask me. I hate talking about myself, but I will do it just for you. My name is Richard Holliday. I am a sci-fi and thriller author from London, here in the UK. At the moment, I write fiction that tries to take the mundane things we experience and know in ordinary life and kind of twist them into the macabre and scary. My story journey goes back to being told stories at bedtime by my dad, and my earliest kind of reading memory was in 1998 when I was bought by my nan this copy of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Didn't get the first one because it was out of stock, to kind of read the second one and then go back, but it was really good. What have I been up to recently, or kind of recently-ish? My novella Nightmare Tenant.
Yes.
And that was released in March 2021. It's a book where occupation becomes possession. Should I read the blurb?
Yes, by all means, go for it.
I'll read the blurb then. Okay. It says, for years, Chevron Tower was abandoned and left to rot as the world turned. Looming in the skyline, a desolate, abhorred ruin, a forgotten relic of the past. That was how it should have stayed. But now the tower has been resurrected and shown a renewed lease of life, ready for a new generation of families to move in. Great hope for this restoration is soon to be extinguished. The mysterious tenant is angry, is without mercy, and is hungry. It feeds on the suffering, making things go bump in the night. It brings more victims to its lair. The warnings it gives turn to torment that it revels in. Joel Barton and his family find they are trapped with the last remaining residents, good and bad, as they realise escape means confronting a nightmare tenant.
Ooh. It gave me chills. I will
Excellent.
admit.
Good.
It gave me chills. This is not my genre. I've recently fallen in love with this genre, and cold chills for sure. I love it.
Thank you.
Definitely check it out below in the description box, lovelies. You will enjoy it for sure. So, has writing always been your life? You said it kind of goes back reading relating wise to Harry Potter. Similar-ish here as far as year goes, but as far as actually you sitting down full-time writing your first full story, I mean, when did that about start?
That does go back a long time as well, funnily enough. A bit of a history lesson. First, kind of set the scene. So, when I was young, I was always a bit of an outsider at school, especially when I went to secondary school, which is otherwise known as high school in the States. We try to appeal to both sides of the crowd. I never really fit into any of the cliques. I did go to an all-boys school, which was quite an experience, shall we say.
Oh, yes.
It was difficult for me because I wasn't really a fit into any of the specific groups. Wasn't sporty, which was a big thing back then. Like, Jesus. So I remember, like, at primary school before that, I would always kind of read and write little stories when I could, just kind of like scribbles in an exercise book. So yeah, I think from my sort of teenage years, sort of early, like when I was 12, 13, maybe a little bit younger than that, I always wanted to tell stories. So I made my first kind of proper escapades into the writing trenches at that young age, and gained a bit of confidence. And I'm kind of really glad I discovered it, because I found it is my art form. I never thought I'd have an art form, but here I am. So yeah, I kind of did that for a little bit. I think it was 2010. I'm going off my outline, by the way. It was 2010 where I thought, I'm going to sit and take this writing thing proper serious. I did NaNoWriMo 2010, and that was an experience. And I suppose, as they say, the rest is history.
The rest is history. Congratulations.
Oh, and I studied writing. I was
going to say, well. Didn't I hear somewhere in other chats elsewhere about the authortubes that you studied it even?
I don't like to brag, but yes, I did. So in 2015, I went to university to study creative writing. Now, the reason I picked that was I thought, now I could do a degree for a job. I thought, nah. So I thought I'd do in something I was passionate about. So I thought I'd do the writing thing. I thought, if I'm going to do this, do it for something I care about. And it was an experience, Sherry said. I'm glad I did it at the end of the day.
Did it teach you a lot about your own process, or just about writing and marketing writing in general?
It taught me nothing about that, funnily enough.
Ooh.
That's kind of a tiny little bone of contention with my creative writing course, which is a bit of a shame, but I met some wonderful people, did get something out of it, so, it's good. It kind of focused more on the more esoteric writing forms.
Right.
Let's talk about poetry, let's talk about this. I was like, I want to talk about how to write.
Than application.
There was less kind of craft work, shall we say.
No.
And I was a little bit disappointed. And also, I'm very much a genre writer. I love genre fiction. I think it's very powerful. It's really good. And the trouble is, I think with some of the faculty at universities, they kind of look down their little nose at little genre me, or genre fiction in general, because they think, it sells, but it's rubbish. So I kind of put my back up a little bit. I remember one of the comments I got was, J.K. Rowling and Dan Brown, they're terrible writers, but they sell. I was like, okay, you say that like that's a bad thing, but they sell. So, yeah, a bit of an atmosphere which kind of put the people like me who just want to learn how to write better stories, learn the craft more, kind of put our backs up a little, but still met some lovely people who I keep in contact with today. They're really talented. I did get something out of it, so try to look for those positives, not the negatives.
You at least built a better network of understanding with other creative minds.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's a bigger benefit than what you learned in school.
Exactly.
Sadly. So at least it did for sure come out on the positive for you. So kind of segueing back to the reading today, do you read for fun the same genre you write for publication?
Yeah, so broadly speaking, yes, because I enjoy sort of horror, thriller, and sci-fi books, which is quite a wide kind of gamut of reading.
And does not overlap.
Oh, not at all. Books that have a lot of plot to get immersed in, because I think it's like a symbiotic relationship in a way. You write the books that you would enjoy to read yourself, and then you read the books that you enjoy that kind of immerse themselves into what you're writing. So it kind of works as a two-way street in a way. And also, sort of those genres are pretty wide genres. There's lots of sort of sub-genres you can play about in, experiment in, have a little dabble in. So there's plenty to do.
Very true. A lot of people keep forgetting it's often the subgenre that can drive your plot more than your genre, depending on the book as well. So very good point. And this is more on the reading end, which book that became a movie should have a redo, if any of them, and why?
That's quite interesting to think about this question. I'm yet to see a good adaptation of The Rats by James Herbert. That's one of my kind of beloved books.
That's a good point. That one has not translated well to cinema yet, has it?
And it really deserves a good adaptation, because that is a very gutsy, visceral, and quite gory story as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does what it says on the tin, that story. But the kind of I think that's the one that I think should have the redo. I think it's had a few. I think it's had at least one bad adaptation, like the 80s. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the one that actually really comes to mind when having a redo is The War of the Worlds. Is a fantastic
Ooh.
classic story. It gets remade every so often in a sort of contemporary version, which never quite hits the mark. I just want to see a proper, true, authentic adaptation of the kind of almost kind of steampunky turn of the century War of the Worlds, because it tries to get updated every time to reflect some present issue in whatever era it's being made. And I don't think the story needs adapting at all. It needs to be remade true to the book. I mean, the closest adaptation there is the musical version by Jeff Wayne.
Right. Or as for Americans, to give you a little bit of an update here, most Americans are going, wait a minute, wasn't that radio show? It was a novel first, y'all. Back up. It was a really good
A lot of people
novel.
think it was just the Orson Welles thing, yeah, but no. But yeah, that story is such a kind of universal one with lots of different kind of themes in there. It just needs to be done properly, set in the time period, and it's a very close story to me because I live in the kind of south of England. A lot of the places that get flattened by the Martians, I'm familiar with, which is
right.
was good to see.
Right, and a lot of people forget that book really is kind of pointed out as like a cornerstone book for its genre as well.
It's really visionary. It's really visionary.
It doesn't get the love it deserves anymore.
I think the number of kind of substandard adaptations kind of diminishes the book's reputation as a whole, which is a big shame. I suppose one of the kind of writing projects I'd love to do is to do a proper modernised retelling, but do it properly.
This would be Nightmare Tenant at this point, or another book that you've done or are writing?
I was thinking about this. I do have another book that I'm hoping to query this year. It's a post-apocalyptic novel called The Thaw. It has been stuffed under my mattress for too long. It needs to get out. It's the equivalent of a teenager. He needs to get out and get a job.
Right.
So it's time to kind of put my money where my mouth is for that one. And it has a character like the President of the United States. I was thinking, who would be a great actor to play this one? How I've written it, and I thought the perfect one would be J.K. Simmons. He has the perfect kind of mannerisms that I was going for.
That's a really good pick. Like, that's one of those actors that does not come to mind for most people, that gets forgotten, I think. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
but when he crops up, he steals the show, doesn't he? You can't take your eyes off him.
Fair enough.
I mean, I know him more from the video game Portal 2.
That's what I was just thinking. It's like, I know this dude from video games, even.
Oh, that game is one of my close favourites. I love
now, if you want to get on a tangent, we will definitely get on a tangent. Come on.
Okay, I'm going to resist the urge.
We will resist the gamer tendency for that today.
I used to be a big gamer, but not anymore. I'm not being funny. I don't have the time these days. I'm a busy man.
Well, then let me at least ask this, and since we reflected on that point, has gaming influenced the way you write at all?
Definitely. Actually, I'm glad we've gone on this tangent because I've kind of found I really like the idea of post-apocalyptic fiction.
Yeah.
And of course, the big one we all think of when we think of post-apocalyptic is Fallout. What an absolutely well crafted and well realized kind of universe they have in those games. It is fantastic. It was kind of so fantastic. I thought I have nothing to add to this genre. For years, I thought, what am I going to be able to do that they haven't done already done better? But then I thought, I can add my hat to the ring. So there's definitely some vibes of that in my work. But yeah, it's a fantastic example of storytelling. Mm-hmm. And it kind of reminds me, I'm going to go into another one of my uni experiences, Jenna's another tangent on a tangent.
Sorry.
I had a uni lecturer who was doing a lecture on setting and places and stuff like that. And he was one of those kind of snooty literature types. And someone asked him, Sir, have you ever played the game Fallout? And he just went, I don't play video games. So, you're missing out because that
yes.
Because I think games are another really great kind of storytelling option. Even if you just play through them, not for the gameplay but for the story, it's great.
I mean, even if you look back to the older Nintendo games, they had story elements to them. They just didn't talk yet. So
they were trying.
They were trying a lot. So everything culminating to probably one of my biggest questions on my list for you today, how we met. Your YouTube journey, how did that get started? Because it's through other authortubers that we actually met.
It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think Barrett.
We'll get onto him later, won't we? I suppose we will. Yeah.
Probably.
He's bound to crop up at some point. I don't kind of feel like a traditional YouTuber in the normal sense, because my channel is basically a place for my stuff. It started as a place for my stuff when I was a viewer, when I was just sort of favoriting videos.
Right.
It turns out I've been a member of YouTube for 15 years, Jenna. I'm like, where's 15 years gone? But I think as my kind of profile, I don't want to get too big-headed, but as my profile kind of comes up in the author sphere, it's coming as now a place to kind of showcase my work, and getting involved in that community has really helped. So, I'm just trying to present it in a more professional light. It's kind of difficult because I only seem to do live streams, really. I don't do much in the way of pre-recorded stuff, but that suits me fine.
And sorry about that. My voice is just trying to go out on me a little bit. And as far as your live streams go, do you run them in a particular series? Do you do one-offs? Is there something we should be looking out for that's coming out soon? Or do you want to hold off answering that until later? And we can recap.
I'll go into a little bit now. As I said, I'm not really a kind of traditional YouTuber. I don't really do the pre-recorded videos at all. I found I'm enjoying being on the live streams like this today. Is really fun. And I found myself over the last 7 months or so, I now host a monthly flash fiction writing show with Martin Lejeune called Flash Aha, which is lots of fun. It's on the last Friday of every month. It alternates between mine and Martin's channels, so it's always good fun. And it's been a surprising success because we kind of don't put, I don't want to say we don't put any effort into it. We don't take it 100% seriously. We just go in there for the fun.
Right.
But yeah, I think all the sort of live streams I've done, I've definitely grown in sort of confidence. I'm looking to do more of them. I've got a few live stream ideas of my own to kind of throw my hat into the ring with. So yeah, there's going to be some discussions. I think it's just a good opportunity to get lots of interesting and entertaining writers from everywhere. And this community is multinational, beyond borders, includes the cats.
I was going to say, somebody is trying to be included. Pardon me.
That's fine.
I don't think I'm getting out of doing this. Say hello again, Molly Moo. Elder kitties, they think they run the show. Yeah. So yes, the global audience that you all have, I mean, you have Americans and people in Asia getting up early for you guys, or staying up late for you all, I hear. And
I sort of stay up late for some of the American or international people, and it's good fun.
Mr. We always question when you all go to sleep, Brit Pack and associated members.
Some of us never seem to sleep, but I do have to, unfortunately.
I was going to say, aren't you the one with the day job?
Unfortunately, yes.
I understand that pain, and my heart goes out to you to be able to.
The writing's still a passion for now.
I understand wholeheartedly. So, which YouTube videos then drain your energy to make versus ones that replenish? Is it the pre-recorded drain you, or not so much?
Yeah, I mean, the pre-recorded ones I don't have any particular interest in doing, because I don't think I have anything I can add to some of these things. But the live stream discussions are so much fun because they tend to go in all sorts of places. It's long form content, which is good too. Because some of these conversations can just go on for, I think what people will say, once I get talking about something, it's hard to shut me up.
Fair enough. The live stream aspect also, there's that randomosity that you never know what your audiences are going to add.
Yeah, exactly, and it's nice to do something that's almost like a sort of live event in a way, isn't it? The live stream's good. But the trouble is with the pre-recorded stuff is I don't like editing it.
Right.
And I kind of for a long time had that kind of mindset of I'm doing YouTube, or I could be editing video, and I could be writing words down.
That's kind of what I've been going through lately with some channel management revamp. I appreciate that statement. So it's not so much that it's super draining, so much as you know what you are willing to put in versus not, as far as editing goes too.
Yeah, exactly. I know what I'm interested in doing at this point. I'm going to keep doing that and just focus on it. Because again, a live stream, you just basically rock up, do it, and then it's done in a way, and it's there. It's nice.
I'm willing to listen as a fan, though. Just saying.
That's fine. I just found that book just kind of took its time getting going.
As a college mate of mine once said, it's a book about walking. What do you expect it to be? It's a book about walking somewhere.
And describing every tree on the way. I will confess, it's been about 15 years since I last attempted Lord of the Rings, so maybe we'll try it again at some point. Who's to say? But it's kind of down on the list, shall we say, of mine to be read.
Gotcha. I was going to say how far, but good to know for a future episode of something I might be doing. So, therefore, what is your biggest fear and your biggest excitement as an author then?
That's an interesting question I had to think about for a bit. I wasn't sure at first, but I think my biggest fear for me is finishing a project, because that means you've done it, and you've got to do it again. I do seem to suffer from the old blank page syndrome quite a lot, but it gets better as I've kind of grown in confidence and skill. But I think it's important to recognise that you have to get better with each project. So if you're not kind of on a constant journey of improvement, what's the point in doing what you're doing? I used to be a total pantser when it came to writing, or should I say a total trouserer.
Ooh.
Trouserer, to use the British terminology. But now I'm really kind of hot on the outlining going forward. Nightmare Tenant, for instance, I outlined that using... it was my first real dab into beat sheets and story beats.
Yes.
And that was transformational, because that story was originally going to be a 12,000 word short story. But it turns out I used a beat sheet, a horror beat sheet, for a novel. Whoops. I only found out after I'd written all this, planned all this story, I was thinking, oh, bother. So at which point I thought, I'm just going to make it a novella.
Why not? Happy medium right in between the two.
Yeah.
And it moves. The pacing in it, you can tell there was thought put into where it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find, though, that you do more plotting, outlining for some projects over others these days then?
My kind of process, my process for outlining has kind of become, I try to always make the process a bit better each time. I basically have a template in Excel that I use as my outline starting point. I know.
Excel? That's
people will be surprised. I use Excel by choice and I love it.
I live and die by Excel for teaching. So now I'm like, wait a minute, what?
I learned this method from Martin Lejeune. He kind of introduced it to me, because outlining was a very hard thing for me to kind of get into it. And, I started off thinking, okay, let's do the whole beginning, middle, and end. How do we structure that? Who knows? So I've been kind of learning on the job, so to speak. But now I've got this sort of template for. Once I've got the idea of the plot down, I kind of like, okay, I've got to have the inciting incident. This has got to happen. That's got to happen. Then split it into chapters and then scenes. So that's worked out really well for me. But I think it's important with the outline to always kind of let there be a little bit of wiggle room for the story to go on its own glorious tangents.
Because sometimes you never know what a secondary character might say that could be the catalyst for something new.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But the whole outlining thing has been really good for me, because I can literally sort of sit into write thinking, crap, what happens now? I can just go, okay, I've written this, and this. Oh, now I've got to write this bit. Right, off we go, and then we see what happens. And that's how it works for me. I know some people outline, maybe write thousands of words in their outline, which is interesting to me. I'm definitely going to be looking into the different pros and cons of all these different methods. But I've got a workflow, so to speak, and that works for me, but still allows me to have that bit of creativity as well. It's not all about joining the dots or painting by numbers. It's about making sure the outline is flexible for the things that happen. Because what's the phrase? And the greatest plans never survive first contact with the enemy.
Exactly. That's where I was thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly where I was going. Thank you for giving me the full quote, because I didn't have the second half. But
I was trying to remember the full quote. I was thinking, oh, what is it? But it's true. I think it's still worth doing the outline in terms of getting it ready, but being prepared to change it. Don't treat the outline as gospel. It's a living document. It's going to change. It's going to wiggle a bit, which is fine. That's part of the whole process. I mean, my outline documents are just for me. It doesn't matter how messy they are. It doesn't matter if I've put notes all over them. It's fine. It's fine.
I tell my students that all the time. They're like, "You're so gentle in grading our outlines," because they're not notes for me, dude. I just need to make sure you did it. That's all. This is a checkpoint. Are you doing a process grade? I can't grade what's in there yet because it might not be in there by the time you write the full essay or whatever you're writing.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And I remember I did essay plans at university, and that worked really well. Just getting the bullet points down is good enough.
It's short.
And that's how the outlines always started for me. I thought, just do bullet points, then it evolved into this kind of story beats kind of workflow. I kind of go by the 5 commandments of story now. I find those 5 beats really work for me. And I've got it to a bit of a formula as well. It's like, I assign X amount of percent to one POV or one plot thread. My spreadsheet works all this out for me.
I was going to say, Excel probably does the math for you.
It really does.
Oh my goodness, that's ingenious. So since we're kind of going that segue anyway, do you have any tips for surviving either as an author tuber or a writer today?
I think my main kind of tip is you have to kind of silence your inner editor basically from the start. I mean, when you're kind of drafting, like when I'm doing my first drafts, people who know me or I'll be like, oh, I've just written 1,000 really shitty words. And then they'll be like, it's fine, but you've written 1,000 words, which is better than writing 0 good words. And they said, just fix it later, because once it's on the page, you can fix it. And just enjoy the moment. Just get something down, because even in the worst sections you're writing, you might have a line, a sentence, a bit of dialogue that's really good. And I think it's too easy to stop mid-flow. I think there's 2 quotes that kind of come to mind. The first is from Ernest Hemingway, who says the first draft of anything is shit. Yep. Can confirm.
I wish I could put that up in my classroom, because it's true.
It is really, and the thing is, you have to kind of embrace it. Embrace the crappy first draft, because you can always improve it. And the second quote that I kind of bear in mind, that I should really put above my computer really in some form, is the one from Jodie Picoult, who says you can't edit a blank page.
Right. And she'll be the first to admit some of her edits that went to her, some of the things that went to her editor were her worst stuff. So awesome choices in quotes, and definitely so on the inspiring end. And that applies to authortube too. If you misstep, recalculate, come back, I assume, right?
I think this is it. I think it's even in my live streams I do, I just kind of think, okay, will this happen, X, Y, and Z? What can we do better next time? So like, we're recording this like the day after Flash Aha happened. Right. I've already talked to Martin and said, oh, this worked really well. We could possibly do X, Y, and Z differently. And it's fine. There's always going to be a next time. I think it's really valuable not to just criticize yourself, but just think, okay, I've done this. What have I learned from doing this? And how can I do it better? So thinking about Nightmare Tenant, when I was writing that, I thought the process of having outline, story beats worked really well. had the book from blank page to a book in 6 months, which for me is fantastic.
That's amazing.
Some of that shows a little bit, and that kind of really kind of energized me to think this is a way of working that works. And I thought, yeah, I've got to keep doing this and do it better. Just get better at it.
Rub out the kinks, iron them out as you go along, and improve accordingly. I think
this is it. This is it with like my workflow as well. I'm always kind of, if I see another writer, it's like, oh, they do something a little bit differently. How can I kind of adapt? I'm a bit like the Borg from Star Trek. I just kind of assimilate writing ideas into my kind of hive consciousness.
And that energy is very contagious and attracting, and I think that's why so many people come to your events as well. So if Miss Molly Moo would enjoy letting us having a quiet or two to do so, we're going to start wrapping things up and winding things down here a little bit. Before we do so, and we get into recapping where we can find you and things of that nature, do you have any questions for me at this time, my friend?
I do have a question for you, Jenna.
Let's go for it.
I will go for it. Just letting you prepare yourself for a second. I saw recently that one of your books has won an award, and I'd love to hear more about the kind of process, mainly because I don't really have a particular interest in literary awards per se. I mean, there is one I'm coveting as a kind of joke. So yeah, do we want to know what the one I'm coveting is?
I'm wondering, what would that be?
It's going to have to be the Bad Sex in Fiction Award.
Okay.
I don't really want it.
I specifically don't include that in my paranormal romance novels because there's awards for stuff like that for a reason, people.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of it out there.
That's maybe an award you don't want to be a contender for.
But you're going after it on purpose for a reason, as a joke, and you've made that known even seriously and as a joke. So I did not apply for that book award. That's what a lot of people are missing in me talking about the award I got for book 2. I was nominated for, didn't even know I was nominated for the shortlist.
That's really cool.
Then a team of editors read all 7 books and said, it's between this one and it's between this one, and my book won out. So
that's really good. You should be really sort of proud of that.
I'm still in shock a little bit because of things that were happening in my personal life at the time, overshadowed it a little bit, unfortunately. And I kind of had that moment of, wait a minute, I was shortlisted for a who do what. Yeah, I think
that was a nice surprise, wasn't it? That was a nice surprise in a way. That's really good. Because I wasn't sure if you did have to kind of submit to it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure whether submitting yourself for an award showed hubris in any way. Because I'm not. The thing is, I'm British. I hate promoting myself.
Agreed.
So
that's my weak spot as an author.
I'm trying to get better at that. I'm trying to bring out my inner American, shall we say.
Me too. But no, for book 2, that is not a contest that you can register to be a part of. It's a contest that you are chosen amongst a group of books for. And it's really
good that that you got considered then. So that's really that just shows something went right for you. The planets aligned for you then, which is really good.
It kind of aligned at the right time. I needed the kick in the butt. So definitely, thank you. Thank you for sure. So as far as shout outs to others in your community, who would you like to shout out? You've mentioned a certain Martin a few times. I'm sure that one's definitely in order, and others.
Oh, Martin, where would we be without Martin Leger? He's always been, he's always a good laugh. He comes up with some quite kind of quirky, funny stories. Other people, I think the Brit Pack, of which I somehow found myself a member of. I think the other members are it's Adam, Colin Clark, who is the man, the myth, the legend, and who else is in it? Martin and me. Other people in this community. Barrett Laurie is such a wonderful kind of connector, and his kind of network has been really good to be a part of as it expands, and met lots of interesting and wonderful new people, including you today, which is really nice.
Very much so. As far as your creative team, do you have beta readers, cover designers even, or are you doing a lot of that in-house?
So in terms of that, I have like an unofficial kind of street team of kind of beta readers who I know I can go to. I know who will be happy to sort of read and offer feedback on. In terms of cover design, I usually kind of subcontract that out. I've got good ideas, but my Photoshop ability does not, does not translate to what's up here.
Right, right.
And in terms of kind of like edits, I've got lots of beta readers who are happy to kind of put comments in, but for my new stuff going forward, I'm hoping to be working with an editor very soon, who's a member of this community.
Woo! I didn't know we had. Well, I guess I should have assumed we had editors in this community. But
he's kind of very recently kind of gone into this kind of scope, but he's someone I've beta read for, and he's beta read for me, and yeah, I'm looking forward to that kind of collaboration. It's going to be exciting. It feels like proper writing, Jenna.
Agree.
Feels like I'm a grown up now.
That's what I was just telling my editor. We had a Skype conversation recently working on my third book, and I'm like, this feels like work. And she said, but in a good way, right? Because you feel, like you said, like a proper writer now.
It's lovely. I had my editor is called Dan, and he's on YouTube as Dan Hook. He's a good guy. And yeah, we had a call, and it felt very official. And like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's how it's going to work, and it was fantastic. And we keep in contact quite often. It's not just going to be a term of just turning in a draft. It's going to be like a collaboration, which is lovely. So I think I'm almost done with the first draft. I'm about halfway through a first draft of my next book.
Congratulations. Is there a date or at least a month for launch?
I was going to get on to that.
Ooh,
it's coming soon. But if you subscribe to my monthly newsletter, you will get updates on the new series. It's going to be called Price War. It's kind of a little bit dystopian, a little bit kind of cyberpunk, just little hints of that. And I'm hoping to release it towards the end of Q2 2022. So yeah, if you sign up to my newsletter, you'll find out all of the scoop, and you'll also get like a personal update from me. I even have free fiction that comes out. If you do subscribe to my newsletter, you do get the prequel to Nightmare Tenant, which is called Foundations, as a free thing. We love free things, don't we? Yeah, and I kind of shout out fellow authors and do all kinds of fun stuff. And that goes out on the last Monday of every month. So everyone who subscribes, I do appreciate, and it helps build my kind of community, and it's all really valuable.
I get your newsletter every month. It is one of my favorite reads, honestly. It's so full of
I'm glad it doesn't go into your spam. I'm glad it doesn't go into your spam folder.
I was smart to set it to not put it that way. There is a way you can do that, lovelies. There is a way you can do that. Google
Please do.
Please do. So any other upcoming exciting events, launches, places where we can find you that have already been mentioned all the way in the beginning or have yet to be mentioned?
I think I have my usual kind of social media stuff and things. That's going to be linked below, isn't it? In all the various places.
Mm-hmm.
What else is happening? What else is on my calendar, shall we say? I think on Colin Clark's channel on February the 4th, there's going to be the Brit Pack Spectacular. Mm-hmm. So go and check that out if you haven't watched it already. By the time you watch this, it'll be a replay. It'll be a good laugh. Hopefully, he says. Fingers crossed. Oh, I'm sure it'll be a good laugh.
You all are a riot just in text-based chat conversations. I think
we just turn up to cause chaos.
Wait a minute. No offense. This is totally a compliment. You're British. I thought it was natural.
It seems to come naturally for me, especially.
Fair enough. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, and I guess sharing a little glimpse into your chaotic world, ? But chaos.
Organized chaos. Organized chaos.
I was going to say, chaos can be a good thing, especially, well, Nightmare Tenant, proof of that. It's an amazing book. Go check it out. If you want to see more of Richard, check all the links down in below. And of course, my lovelies, as always, take care of yourself a little bit better in each and every day. We know you're worth it. Bye. Thank you for being here, my friend.